ahead of the main event for this phone show, I wanted to update everyone with the new top 5 phones. In fact, 2 top 5, since I passionately feel that one form factor, typically the touchscreen slate, really doesn't suit everyone. As per this rant from me, linked below, there are many things for which buttons are best. So I give you the top 5 button-driven phones. The Nokia E55 running S60 on Symbian. The E55 has a unique form factor, QWERTY typing and a battery life of up to a week with careful use. At number 4, the Nokia N96, Symbian again, yesterday's quirky flagship. Still a great screen and feature set, shame about the build materials and underclocked processor. At number 3, the bold 9700, running Blackberry OS of course. I still think the 9000 was better, but it's not available anymore, hence anyway, this is RIM's answer to the number 2 phone here, the Nokia E72, S60 on Symbian again, great form factor, lovely build, not quite as solid as the older E71, but fabulous feature set. But at number 1, the Nokia N86 again, 8 megapixels, yet again running S60 on Symbian. You rarely see it on camera because it's the monster camera smartphone shooting this show every week. Massive feature set for such a small and pocketable phone. And now for the top 5 touch-driven phones. And noting that I'm choosing from the devices available in Europe, so some recent USA-only phones aren't eligible here. The number 5, the Motorola Milestone, also known as the Droid in the USA, running Android 2.1 with 2.2 imminent. Great form factor, camera, speakers, let down only by a half-hearted keyboard. At number 4, the Nokia N97 Mini, running S60 5th edition on Symbian, still a great form factor despite its resistive screen. At number 3, the HT Desire or Google Nexus 1, both essentially the same device, both running Android, version 2.1 or 2.2 respectively. Lovely 3.7-inch OLED screen, great form factor, only let down by poorish cameras and speakers. At number 2, the Samsung Galaxy S running Android 2.1. Look past the cheap plastic back and past the TouchWiz layout and you've got the most powerful Android smartphone around with the very best display. But for my number 1 pick, I'm going to say no more than... And so to the Apple iPhone 4, possibly the most covered device on the planet. But that still doesn't mean I should ignore it, and I've had many requests for opinions on its much publicised reception problems. Now, I'm not an Apple fanboy, yet this is the number 1 phone. I had to award it the title of best phone in the world. There's simply nothing to touch it in terms of desirability, extensibility and functionality for the average man. But I'm not necessarily the right person to handle a review like this on my own. I need someone else with years of iPhone experience, someone who's been hammering the iPhone 4 since day 1. In short, I need Kev Wright, who you'll know from the Phone Show Chat audio podcast. Kev and I have collaborated to produce our summary of this latest iPhone. I'm taking responsibility here for the script and narration, and Kev's taking on the video side of things, the hand model, if you like. But all the opinions here are collaborative, don't worry. We have to start with the alleged reception problems though. Using my own physics degree, using Kev's hands-on experience, and reading reports from wireless experts, here's what's happening. The iPhone 4 uses a new design whereby the right and bottom sides of the metal strip round the device double as the main 3G and GSM antennae, while the left side doubles as the antenna for the Bluetooth, Wi-Fi and GPS. This is a great design in theory because you get a larger antenna and thus should get stronger signals, and you do. The iPhone 4 can hold calls and a data session in weak signal areas where previous iPhones used to give up. At least it does if you mainly keep your skin out of the way, hold it loosely and stay well away from the join in the 2 antennae, and you'll have the best iPhone coverage you've ever had. Grip it tightly, especially around the join, and the capacitance in your hand really messes things up, both by adding in the electrical characteristics of your flesh and by partially linking the 2 supposedly separate antennae, in which case the signal strength will decrease dramatically and you'll see bars dropping, and possibly calls. Apple's response to this has been a little laughable, suggesting that the bars have, quote, overrepresented signal strength since the iPhone's beginnings, and that they're going to change the way they calculate signal strength. They've been exaggerating a little for years. To be honest, the issue's not that serious. In areas of strong signal, you can hold the iPhone 4 how you like, and there's still signal to spare. In areas of weak signal, you just have to be a little careful how tightly you hold the phone and how you cradle it. to reduce the detuning effects. It's much the same as many other phones, I have to say, although the iPhone 4 is perhaps a little worse. Or by one of the dozens of in-situ iPhone 4 cases now on the market, which will solve the problem completely by moving your troublesome skin a vital few millimeters away. With the metal band at its core then, the iPhone 4's front and back are tempered glass. The front doesn't look that different from previous iPhones. The screen's even the same size until you turn it on. Apple call their new high-resolution 640 by 960 pixel screen a, quote, retina display, a fancy way of saying your eyesight isn't good enough to spot the dots. And indeed, it's very impressive indeed. Apple's iOS 4 also upsamples graphical elements from existing third-party apps to use as many of the new high-resolution components as possible, which is pretty cool. Of course, you could also argue that the display's over-engineered and you'd rather have kept the original pixel density and had a larger screen, such as on the HTC Desire, Droid X and so on. But then Apple couldn't simply have doubled the pixels and had such an easy upgrade path. A 640 by 960 pixel screen at industry average resolution would have made the iPhone 4 another 2 centimeters wider and another 4 centimeters taller. The screen tech has also changed. It's now IPS, in-plane switching, the same as on the iPad, giving great viewing angles and colours and just about acceptable contrast in the sun. You'll remember that the original transflective LCD iPhone display was the best in the world when the sun was shining. Oh well, that's progress, I guess. IPS is certainly better than OLED and TFT, and roughly on a par in the sun with Samsung's new Super AMOLED technology. As expected, Apple has upped the camera spec to 5 megapixels, also switching to a, quote, backside illuminated sensor. No, it's not rude. It's actually a way of reducing noise in low light shots by rotating the sensor pixels in a different way when they're made. There's also now shock horror and LED flash. Though like all LED flashes, it's generally redundant. Any shot that needs a flash will be too dark for a really good photo anyway. Photo results are pretty good. See these samples, certainly up with the 5 megapixel Nokias. The video recording is now at full 720p resolution and smooth as silk, as you can see here. Focusing can be done by tapping a point on the screen, even in the middle of a shot. A really nice feature. The 3GS's basic Symbian-like video editing is still here, but Apple take things to the next level by also including an iPhone version of iMovie in the App Store. Okay, it's not free, but it's not expensive either. And armed with that, you can achieve a really surprising amount, from panning and zooming to transitions and soundtracks. Really slick. The iPhone 4 continues Apple's tradition of including a quality speaker. Great for podcasts, casual music playback or internet radio use. Apple say they've put in a bigger battery for the iPhone 4. It's still not user replaceable, but at least it's now 1420 mAh and will comfortably last a heavy work day. And so to iOS, as the iPhone's OS has now been rebranded, with the iPad in mind, of course. The big two additions are support for application folders and multitasking, both worthy of comment for different reasons. For everyone who's had 140 icons spread across 11 application pages for the last 2 years, including me, Apple has finally relented and implemented folders for app icons. Yes, this is what Symbian had in 2002, 8 years ago. But at least Apple has implemented it smoothly, done it right. Just drag and drop and the folder even gets named automatically and intelligently. A big help for most people, and your chosen folder setup all gets backed up at sync time, so you shouldn't have to do it all more than once. Multitasking is more contentious. In theory, it's not true multitasking, and that there's no concept of applications running at full tilt in the background as on Android, Symbian and Windows Mobile. Here, a specific set of acceptable background tasks are defined, playing music, liaising with the GPS to do navigation, etc. And then applications can be rewritten to use the official task-based mechanisms. In practice, it works quite well. My biggest problem with the previous iOS implementations was that lack of multitasking made serious gaming awkward. A single small interruption and you had to endure a 20-second game startup and resume. Thankfully, even though games aren't really catered for in iOS multitasking, the iPhone 4 is now fast enough with a 1 GHz A4 processor that even the biggest games, we tested Tiger Woods PGA Tour Golf, resumed in under 3 seconds. So even that's not really an issue anymore. With more than one application quote running, there comes a slightly inelegant mechanism to switch between these apps without having to go back through your app screens each time you want to switch apps. Double-click the home button and you get a side-scrolling list of apps, with the most recently used presented first. It's a nice enough system, but anything running that you haven't used for a while will be far enough back in the stack. You might just as well have found the icon in the main app menu screens in the first place. Also new is FaceTime, a Wi-Fi only video calling iPhone to iPhone application which seems to have polarised people into loving it, Kev's in his camp, or not getting it at all. That'll be me. What happens is you start a voice call with another iPhone 4 user and then you both tap on the FaceTime icon, and if you're both in Wi-Fi range, bang, you're put into a video over Wi-Fi call, like Skype or MSN video, but without all that tedious setup and logging in. I can absolutely see the use case Apple demoed. A family split apart by business travel being able to keep in touch. But for general calls to people who are mobile, hey, you're calling their mobile number, the chances are that they're not going to be connected by Wi-Fi, so FaceTime wouldn't work. And it should be remembered that video calling has flopped in almost every market it's ever been tried in. Maybe people just don't want to be seen on the whole, so why would they tap the FaceTime icon? No makeup on, unshaven, house in a mess, too early in the day, just out of the shower, or just somewhere you're not supposed to be. Anyway, as I say, Kev's a fan, but I'm sceptical. Mind you, if Skype, Fring and others can work out the right runes so that their software can operate together, and especially if the Wi-Fi restriction is dropped, then video calling might just have a chance. I do notice that Fring has just released a 3G video calling option on the iPhone, so maybe we're getting there. The rest of the interface is, well, it's an iPhone, the apple of Steve Jobs' eye, literally. Settings and application interfaces are all intuitive, and the virtual QWERTY text correction is almost literally magical, a term Jobs is prone to using to describe his devices generally. There's no home screen status info, no possibility of custom widgets, no live wallpapers, limited Bluetooth connectivity, plus App Store restricted functionality, but that's not going to stop 10 million people around the world desiring the iPhone 4, and deep down, you and I probably want one too. Debate has raged in the phone show office about whether the iPhone 4 is a step up from the iPhone 3GS with iOS 4 on board. Hey, it's a free download. Our view is that it is an improvement on balance, but that there's no reason to go and spend a lot of money going from the OS 4ified 3GS to the iPhone 4. Wait till you get a good upgrade deal from your network operator. And so I give you the best phone in the world at the moment, in my opinion, and Kev's opinion, the Apple iPhone 4. I'd say warts and all to reflect some of the caveats, but that would be unfair. It's too beautiful for that.